Foxes.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Welcome to this month's TCM Spotlight series. Each Tuesday night, we're bringing you films from one of the 5 directors featured in Mark Harris's book, 5 Came Back. Frank Capra, William Wyler, John Ford, John Huston, and George Stevens each volunteered for duty during World War II. All of them in the Army, except Ford, who joined the Navy. All month, we've been examining how their films affected the war and how the war affected them as directors. Author and film historian Mark Harris is here. Mark, welcome.
Thanks very much.
Tonight we're showcasing the films of William Wyler, and we'll begin with the movie he made prior to joining the Army. It was the Best Picture of 1942. This is Miniver. Wyler had played runner-up to John Ford, it seemed like every year prior to Mrs. Miniver at the Oscars.
Right. They were very, very competitive, and Ford was really on an incredible run with The Grapes of Wrath, the year that Wyler directed The Letter, and How Green Was My Valley, the year that Wyler directed The Little Foxes. And with Mrs. Miniver, it was finally Wyler's year. The movie was a gigantic hit at the box office, very well received by critics, and it won several Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director, but Wyler wasn't there to pick it up. By then, he was already serving.
So when production began on Mrs. Miniver, we were not at war with Germany and Japan, and then midway through, Pearl Harbor happens.
Right. Mrs. Miniver is one of the few movies that literally straddles the before and during moment of the war and was directly affected by it, too.
What was the original intent? As a look at the stoic British as they faced the Nazi onslaught?
Yeah, I think the original intent was as an act of solidarity. You know, England had been in the war for 2 years. People in England were in great danger and were bearing up incredibly well, and the idea was to sort of show how exemplary they had been via this story of an entire village erasing its age distinctions and wealth distinctions and class distinctions by coming together in the face of a common menace. Then Pearl Harbor happens, and it suddenly, without a rewrite even, changes the entire character of the movie, which is now clearly going to be taken by Americans as this could be us.
So there was no rewriting done after Pearl Harbor, or not significant rewriting?
Well, there was not significant rewriting except for one very, very big piece of rewriting, which was the last scene of the movie. Again, we don't want to give too much away, but
well, there's a speech from the town vicar at the end of the movie, and
right.
he just quotes a psalm. They added to it.
Yes, in the first draft, it's a very religious moment. In the final version of the movie, it's both religious and kind of Churchillian. I mean, it is a real call to action that uses almost verbatim language from a very famous speech that Churchill had given, you know, promising solidarity and promising victory.
It is emotional movie making at its finest. It becomes, and Wyler called it this, a piece of pure propaganda, but so effective that it reaches you emotionally on every level.
Absolutely, and Wyler himself said that there were things in the movie that embarrassed him a little bit, things that he got wrong about what war would be like, what a home front would be like, things that didn't strike him as true. I don't think that Wyler necessarily felt that it was his truest movie, but I'm surprised watching it 73 years later at how effective and how affecting it still is.
All right, Mark, thanks very much. Here's the film. As we said, the winner of 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director for William Wyler. It's Mrs. Miniver.